I need a breath. Okay, John, let's do it. So here we are, part two with Sunita Martin. Sunita, you started built a bakery and a cafe next door after building the boutique hotel here. Why did you do that?
We needed bread, good bread. Merida does not have good bread. There's just, you know, white sliced bread from Bimbo, which they also sell in the US, and it was something we really needed. And so we started just learning how to make bread. The chefs did. And so we did it with, originally we started with a Dutch oven, and it was terrible. It was like a stone, actually, because, you know, the flour wasn't good, and so forth. And then my husband said to me, and he's the one who really is the designer of everything, and I'm very operations, but he likes to design things, and he comes up with the ideas, and we make a good team because he'll come up with the idea, and I'll be like, okay, that sounds good, and then I just take over and do the rest of it. But his idea was to build an excellent bakery, and he's very particular about quality, and so everything that we invest in here has, you know, like the equipment we brought from Italy, so we are very, you know, so it was really important. We have water purification systems in all the properties. It's important for the equipment, as well as it's just, you know, good. It's expensive, but it's important to have it because the guests like it also. So yeah, so that was the question.
That was good. But what I would like to point out to the students here today and anyone else watching this in the future is that Sunita didn't do a lot of market research, I think, other than you go to Walmart here in Merida, the bread is talking about bread.
Right.
And you know, and my wife and I have been here, and we only come to the bakery and buy bread. I'm not saying just because you're sitting there, but it's true. That's all. That's the only bread that we have in our fridge here in Merida. So it's interesting that, you know, people have talked a lot about market research and how important it is, and I'm not discounting it. We have some data guys here looking at our videographer John today, and of course Brad Cartier back in Ottawa. Many people are data driven. I'm not saying that that's wrong, but sometimes it's just instinct.
Right. So with the second hotel, it was more data driven, and it was based on what we found here. So for instance, this was designed to, you know, for families as well as for retreats. And then I realized all of a sudden we need to have a product which is adults only.
Adults only. Yeah.
And so that's why the tree house was an adults only hotel. And we designed it that way with the pool being at the end. So, you know, here we can see kids if they're in the pool. But that was the idea behind that. And that one had,
And you did some data, the research.
just, again, it was just based on what I noticed from our clientele.
And you've had some pretty interesting shoots done here, right? There's some pretty high profile. Can you share that with us?
Yes. So we've had Victoria's Secrets, we've had H&M. They stay with us. And we just had another company from France and another one from New York. So I always try to reach out to production companies. I work a lot with them. And they know that when they bring their clients here, that they will be, you know, it's concierge travel. So even though they don't do the shoots here necessarily, we have, you know, they bring their hair and stylists, hair and makeup and costumes and etc. here, and they stage it over here, and then they, you know, go out and do their shoots. And yeah.
So now let's talk a little bit about Merida. You know, I have a feeling that Merida is on the cusp of something really great. I feel that. We've learned over the last week that it's the second safest city in North America after Quebec City.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Which is fantastic. You
Right.
know, I mean, it's probably safer than Detroit or Philadelphia or Baltimore or Chicago.
Yeah. No, it's actually the safest place in Mexico.
I think it is.
It is.
But I think the future is great. We learned from Adan that there's this train coming through. That there's more airports happening in Mexico. I think there were 4 new airports. We learned a lot of it this week. What do you see the future of Merida being?
I think it's booming, and it's already what has happened since we moved here and since I started the hotels. I just see, you know, I notice the air traffic coming in. It's becoming hugely popular. There are a lot of Airbnbs.
Yeah.
So that's, you know, that's another part that's popping up. I think, you know, it's growing, but it's also got an infrastructure that is at its seams, too, because when you're looking at the roadways and, you know, economic traffic and also the electric grid, you know, so all those things kind of go with you grow, but you also need to work on, the city needs to work on that. And they are doing a lot of solar technology now, so there's, you know, they just, it started 10 years ago, but it really now is beginning to, you see more and more people. There's an economic zone on the way to Progresso, and so we get a lot of American companies investing here.
And I think I heard as well that some Chinese companies are coming in here, and some others from, because Mexico has labor, it has proximity to the United States and Canada, of course.
Yeah, that's all, it's booming for sure. And Monterrey as well, so Monterrey, Mexico, because that's another border town. So that one is more for the, I mean, they have Samsung and a lot of their productions, production maquiladoras, you know, in Monterrey.
So what advice would you give a young person who is thinking about maybe buying a property in Merida to put on Airbnb, to live here some of the time, and when they're not living there, put it on Airbnb, or possibly even buying a hacienda, you know, within a 45 minutes or an hour of Merida? What advice would you give somebody?
I think it's a great idea. I think, you know, all these areas are becoming more and more known. For instance, Valladolid was a very boring little town before, and now they have all these little boutique hotels, and it's attracting a totally different crowd, very artistic. We have a lot of artists who come out here, so especially Merida, there's Javier Marin from Mexico City, there's Jorge Pardo, who's Cuban, who lives here. He was one of the first people I met, and he studied in Pasadena, and he also is a receiver of the MacArthur Award. But so it attracts very interesting people, and I think no matter, you know, it's to start. When I started this, I didn't know how to run a hotel. I built it and I thought I'd open the doors and people would come. It wasn't that way at all. So I had to figure out, you know, how to actually get it out there. You know, I didn't know anything about Expedia and booking, and that I needed those engines, booking engines, in order to do a hotel. I just started, you know, and I was waiting for the phone to ring. It didn't happen, and then I was like, okay, I gotta do something now.
So what kind of booking engines are you using now?
So we use, well, we have SiteMinder, which is our platform, and then we work with, that hotel is Tablet Plus, this one is Abercrombie in Kent, but we also deal with Booking and Booking.com, Expedia, Hotels.com.
Right.
Yeah, and I mean, you don't have to release all the rooms, you just release one room, but that's advertising for you, you know. So
that is very clever. That's really great. Well, Sunita, last question.
Okay.
What's next for Sunita?
Well, the toasting business is the
roasting?
roasting, yeah.
And that's for export.
That's for export.
And you said how much are you going to how much coffee are you going to export a month?
A ton a day.
Well, I said to the class a ton a month. I missed it by 30.
Well, it'll get to that, right?
Yeah,
but the goal
incredible.
is to do, the equipment that we're getting is to roast a ton a day. It's huge equipment, and it's coming from the US. It's special order, and it'll be ready by June. So
the roastery is next.
The roastery is next, and then I also, because I am a developer, so I also have a couple other projects. One which I'm debating whether to do or not is, it's a beachfront property north of Belize in Quintana Roo. That's one of them, and I already have the property, but I had to just decide whether I'm going to do it because it's hard to get to. So you have to always deal with the logistics and how easy it is going to be to run through construction. And then operations is another, you know, issue, because if I'm here, I can't be, you know, so that's why this project is, these are all great businesses to have because they're all close by. I just walk out, boom, left, right.
And your house is not far away.
I'm behind the cafe.
That's what I thought.
Yes. So yes, it's very easy to manage, and then there's another project which I'm working on in Costa Rica, up in the Papagayo Peninsula, which is going to be a boutique hotel, but it's a lot of people in it, and it's beachfront, and it's huge. And we're putting in infrastructure, and you know, getting the Yeah, so that's a totally different story there, because that is, we got in 20 years ago, and people like Henry Kissinger are in it. So there are 20 of us who got in all together, and no one is interested in developing it other than myself. And so, but it costs a lot to do it, so we have to figure out. And I do project by project, so I don't just, you know, it's important to invest in a project, make sure it's, you know, steady and running, and only once you're sure, then move on to the next. I mean, that's my experience on it.
That's good advice.
Yeah, because otherwise you can just, it's easy just to lose control, and you can, that's something, you know, when you invest so much, it's hard to, you have to manage everything, so.
I think on that last piece of advice, let's thank Sunita one more time.
Oh, no, it was Thanks.
I'll share the video with you if you would like.
Perfect, yes.
I'll Dropbox it to you, it's two
Okay.
pieces.
Okay.
You do whatever you want.
Okay.
But, John, what do you think?